Chapter 20. Lincoln, Nebraska. Vehicle is in the third space on the right. Thank you for using Hertz. Bert picked up his bags and followed Roy out the door. When he saw their car, he halted mid-step. Yellow, round, Volkswagen. They had rented a Beetle. Slugbug yellow, no hitchbacks. Bert dropped his luggage in the parking lot and launched himself at Roy, his fist seeking out the sore spot on the larger man's shoulder. Roy set his jaw and rubbed his arm. Remind me to smack Tom upside the head for reserving this damn car. That's why this place is called Hertz. Bert went back for his bags. He shoved them in the rear seat and got into the car. Roy unlocked the firebox and put the revolver in his shoulder holster. Then he fussed with the donut. Damn donut is leaking again. Is the nozzle pushed in? Don't start with me. It's a hole. I may have something in one of my bags. Bert scooted around and unzipped the panel on his larger bag. He found the metal box and set it in his lap. Camping emergency pack. Waterproof matches, candle, compass, flashlight, cable saw, tablets to purify, fishing line, and a repair kit for patching tents. Give me the donut. Roy handed it over. Bert found the hole, a split in the seam, where they, always are, and dabbed on some rubber cement. It's going to take some time to dry. Can you live without it for a while? I guess I have to. Roy got in the driver's seat, wincing as he sat down. Maybe you should turn the other cheek. Funny. Where the hell are we going? Honest Abe's used car emporium. He's on Route 2. Roy turned the ignition, and Bert consulted the complimentary map of Lincoln the rental company had provided. Obviously before Google Maps. When you get out of the lot, you're going to get on 80. We can take 80 to 180, and then it turns into 2. How's my donut? Drying. Bert set the camping kit by his feet rather than putting it back in the suitcase. He reclined his seat a few more degrees and opened the window. The breeze felt nice. Not as warm as LA, but the air was fresh and clean. The sun was looming over the western horizon. It would set in another hour or so. Bert closed his eyes, thinking about the past week and the events leading up to it. He felt alive. This went beyond finding out he was the clone of Einstein. This was an actual adventure. He was a part of something big and scary and exciting. Bert had no idea how this was all going to end up, but he wouldn't have missed it for anything. They drove in companionable silence. Roy managed to find Route 2, and a few moments later, they were pulled up to a weather-beaten billboard stamped with Abe's Pre-Driven Vehicles. The Emporium wasn't anything more than a gravel parking lot with a small brick building in the center. Multicolored plastic flags, cracked and faded, were strung between two poles, and a sign proclaimed, "Huge sale! This week only!" in peeling paint. Bert scratched his chin. I think I expected more. How many cars do you count? 10, if you include that rusty Buick up on blocks. Before they could get out of the car, a tall man rushed out of the little building to greet them. Welcome to Honest Abe's. His voice was booming, grandiose, and he spread his arms out dramatically. One look at his face, and there was no doubt at all. This was Abraham Lincoln. The craggy features, the square beard, the big ears. He even had the black stovepipe hat. Sorry. Bert opened the car door and Abe shook his hand enthusiastically. There was a cigarette burning in the corner of his mouth, which seemed strangely anachronistic. The car dealer also wore jeans and a dirty t-shirt, neither of which matched that famous face. I see you're looking to trade up on this foreign hunk of crap. I have just the car for you, a 1989 Chrysler LeBaron. Made in the USA, built to last. Leather interior, air. I might be persuaded to trade it for this Euro trash vehicle because I like how you carry yourself. This is a rental. Of course it is. Perhaps I should be speaking to the driver. Abe looked at Roy, then back at Bert. Does this Negro belong to you? Just kidding, of course. Welcome to Honest Abe's Car Emporium, where all men are free to drive home in a great deal. He pumped Roy's hand. The look on Roy's face found him just as entranced by Abe's appearance as Bert was. He must have been. Anyone else talked like that to Roy would have been nursing a broken nose. But when Abe said it, it was humorous and good-natured. Bert likened it to meeting a celebrity. When he'd first met Tom, he knew his face from old portraits, but there was no spark of instant recognition. Lincoln was arguably one of the most recognizable individuals to ever walk the planet. This was real American history come to life. Being next to him made Bert's heart race. Even though it was irrational, he wanted to get the man's autograph and take some pictures. I have just the thing for you. Lincoln led Roy into the lot. A 1977 Cadillac Seville. Auto, everything. Think of how the brothers in the hood will bug when they see you chilling in this ride, homie. Bert shook himself out of the momentary daze and went after him. Mr. Wilkins, we're not here about a car. We need to talk to you. Abe stopped in his tracks, removing his arm. Mr. Wilkins. Oh, you must mean my boss. He's out of town at the moment. I'd be happy to take a message. You aren't Abe Wilkins, owner of the lot? Sorry, no. Good day, gentlemen. Abe walked briskly back to the little building. Bert and Roy exchanged a look of amazement. Are you as weirded out as I am right now? It's freaky. He is Wilkins, right? Has to be. The resemblance was amazing. He tried to sell me a caddy. Abraham Lincoln tried to sell me a caddy. Roy was beaming. It pleased Bert that he wasn't the only one acting like a starstruck idiot. Why'd he take off? Let's find out. They walked up to the building and Roy knocked on the door. Mr. Wilkins? What? No, he's not here. I told you, just leave your name and whatever company you're from and he'll get back to you. Company? I'm a cop. There was a pause and then the door opened and Abe's head peeked out, sans the top hat. You're not from any bank? No. Credit card company? Loan officer? No. Local organized crime? Chicago Police Department. Well then, let's talk. Abe waltzed out of the office and put an arm around Roy again. I'm a big fan of law enforcement and would be honored to give you my special police officer discount. Sorry, it apparently quit recording, and so I'm back to fill in the gaps. So, future me, hi, you'll see me again. Roy had a little smile on his face, and Bert could sense his head wasn't in the game. He reached over and tugged Abe's arm. We're not here to buy anything. We're here about the tattoo. Abe turned his attention to Bert. You know about that? A blue number 1 on your heel? You were adopted, right? Abe nodded, his pale eyes widening. I was. Are you here to tell me it's true? I've been waiting for this for years. You found my real parents, and I'm actually a relative of Abraham Lincoln, right? He grinned and clapped his hands. I've always had a feeling, since I was a kid. I've always hoped it wasn't just a dumb coincidence. Is there an inheritance? Tell me there's an inheritance. It's actually, more complicated than that. You aren't a relative of Lincoln. Are you kidding? Look at me. I'm the spitting image. I look just like the dead bastard. Abe. Why do you think I moved to Nebraska? I grew the beard. I got the dumb hat. Abe, you aren't one of Lincoln's relatives. But you do have Lincoln's genes in you. What the hell are you trying to say? You're actually Abraham Lincoln. Watching Lincoln do a double take ranked among the greatest moments of Bert's life. Excuse me? You're a clone of Abraham Lincoln. Are you trying to bullshit a bullshitter? No. You can actually prove this? Yes. Abe began to laugh. He grabbed Bert and hugged him. This is great! I'll be rich. Come on, you have to buy me lunch and tell me all about it. We'll take my card. Roy and Bert followed Abe to his vehicle. It was, naturally, a Lincoln Continental. Older model when they still made them big. Bert smiled. Lincoln, driving a Lincoln, in Lincoln. Rarely does reality offer up treats like that. He called shotgun and sat in front. Don't you need to lock up? Hell no, the place is insured. Roy had to move a large plastic garbage bag before he could get in the back. Don't you have garbage pickup out here? Oh, those are aluminum cans. $12 at the recycling center. They're leaking. It's only water. I fill them up a little bit before I take them in. Pumps their weight up. This guy is real shady. Abe turned onto the street and hung another cigarette out of his mouth. As he lit it, he gave Bert a once-over. You know, you look sort of familiar. Harry's pool hall? Did we ever play poker together? I'm a clone of Einstein. Abe hooted and blew his horn. I knew it! I knew it finally happened for me. We'll go on tour. You play an instrument, right? I play bass. The Lincoln Einstein World Tour. I'll sing The Politics of Dancing. You can sing He Blinded Me with Science. What do you play? I played viola in high school. I have no idea what that is. We have to work on that. Are there any more famous clones running around? Mozart? John Lennon? Abe turned to Roy. Tell me you're Jimi Hendrix. I'm Jimi Hendrix, Roy deadpanned. Let me stand next to your fire. Abe narrowed his eyes. Your voice is wrong. Plus, you're too goddamn big. But maybe lose some weight, grow a beach ball afro. Do you play guitar? Here we are, Dinah's. Only place in 5 miles worth eating at. Abe pulled into the lot. It had all the trappings of a roadside diner. The big sign that said family restaurant. The glass carousel of rotating pies and puddings. The permanent round stools at the counter. Bert wondered if the waitress was named Flo. Abe parked himself on a stool and beckoned Roy and Bert to join him on either side. Bert could sense Roy's wariness about the seating choice, especially without his donut. Can't we sit in a booth? I hate booths, Abe winked, especially John Wilkes. John Wilkes Booth is who shot Abraham Lincoln, the real president, and killed him. There was laughter and much rib elbowing from the car dealer. Actually, my legs are too long. I get gum on my knees. Sit! Stay a while. Bert sat next to Abe and picked up a menu. There was a small stack next to a pyramid of mini cereal boxes. Everything is good, except the turkey. It's a loaf. Good evening, Meg. The waitress was older, tired, and her pink lipstick matched her uniform. Hi, Abe. Usual? With extra bacon. And some coffee, too, hon. This guy here is Einstein, and the large man is Roy. Do you think he looks like Jimi Hendrix? They're like twins. Meg hadn't lifted her eyes to look. You guys know what you want? Roy didn't bother with the menu. Burger and fries. How about you? Bert wasn't sure that he was in the mood for it. They'd had chicken on the plane, or at least something purporting to be chicken. He decided to be adventurous. Give me what Abe was having. Coffee, too? Roy and Bert agreed to coffee. She brought over 3 stained cups and filled them. Lincoln added 5 packets of sugar, drained his cup without stirring, and then motioned for a refill. Now tell me everything. How can you prove I'm Lincoln? Bert gave him the abbreviated explanation, beginning with how he was contacted by Jessup. He glossed over the meeting with Harold, the doctor with the ostriches, burned up in the fire in New Mexico, not really understanding the science behind it himself, and then talked about their disastrous confrontation with Stang. The grand finale was the writing test, comparing a sample of Abe's script with a Xerox of one of Lincoln's original letters. This is fantastic. Abe looked back and forth between the two papers. I'm actually Abraham Lincoln. Didn't you hear the rest of it? Someone is trying to kill you. Every silver lining has a cloud. Has anyone threatened you lately? Attacked you? No more than usual. Great, here's the grub. Meg brought over 3 plates. Bert eyed his dinner dubiously. It looked quasi-pornographic. Franchise, Abe explained. They split open a quarter-pound hot dog, stuff it with cheese, then wrap it up in bacon and deep fry it. That sounds absolutely disgusting. Abe picked his up and took a large bite, grease dripping down his chin. Bert frowned. I think I can hear your arteries harden. The secret is the lard. Some places use Dutch oil. It just isn't the same. Bert went to work on his fries. So, what's the next step? Do we hit the newspapers or go straight to Letterman and Leno? We have to stop the people who want to end our lives. Yeah. After that. Do you have any of this scientific evidence stuff? Nope. Roy's mouth was occupied by a burger that looked a lot better than Bert's choice. Maybe he'd trade. Hey, Roy, half your burger for my franchise? Hell no. Looks like fried donkey dick. What about that dead science guy? Didn't he take notes? Stank has it all, and he's not going to hand it over. Abe polished off his dog and licked his fingers. Way I see it, we could do it 3 ways. Go through official channels and try to get the media behind us, then let them prove the truth. Or break into the senator's place and get the proof ourselves. You gonna eat your donkey dick? Help yourself. What's the 3rd way? We rob some graves. We can start with Lincoln and Jefferson. Where's your brain at? Roy grinned. I ask him that all the time. Some guy has it at Princeton. Abe, you don't seem to understand how serious this is. You're right. We should probably get agents. Someone to negotiate all the offers when they start pouring in. I know a guy at William Morris. Bernie something. He's a big shot. Represents Mr. T. If you know, you know. They had pie and more coffee. Bert soon gave up on trying to convince Abe that his life was in danger. The guy was on their side, and if they stuck together, it would hopefully be enough. Where are you guys staying? We haven't decided yet. There are a few hotels near the airport. Pretty good bars, too. We're going out to celebrate, right? Bert didn't know if that was the smartest move. I'm up for a beer. You, Bert? Well, Tom is... Roy nudged Bert with his elbow. Tom is in L.A. with a hottie. We don't need to check in with him for another 2 hours. A drink or 2 can't hurt. Come on, Bert, live a little. Peer pressure won, and they agreed to go to a bar named Porterhouse on Pine Lake Road. Only a few miles away, walking distance to the Ramada Inn. I'll point out the road when we pass it. The sun had gone down, and the cold wind made Bert consider a jacket. They all piled back into the Lincoln. Abe verbally debating between rock stardom and a career in politics. I can be president, right? Why don't you vote for Lincoln? Damn straight. Bert, you want BVP? How about you, Roy? Secretary of Defense, then Jefferson could be Secretary of State. How about Joan of Arc? She could cook for us, keep the White House tidy. How could we lose with a ticket like that? Abe pulled into his car lot and killed the engine. I have to do some quick work here. Roll up windows, move some cars. I'll meet you at the Porterhouse. Think you can find the place okay? No problem. See you there, kids. Abe waved and walked back into the little building. He's a pretty good guy. Roy shook his head, smiling. It's like we're hanging out with the Pope or Michael Jackson. The guy has presence, but I want to buy a car from him to save my life. Check to see if my donut is done. That stool gave me an awful ache. They hopped into the Beetle and got on their way. Bert checked the patch. Dry. He blew up the donut and listened for leaks. Seems okay. Roy adjusted the donut under him and sighed. Thanks. A sharp horn split the night just as they were passed by another vehicle. A tow truck, flatbed, going at least 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. Bert watched the truck speed into the distance until its taillights disappeared. You think we should call Tom? Let him know about how the meeting with Abe went? Roy reached into his Bert jacket and took out his cell. You do it. He's on speed dial. Scroll down to his first name. It's alphabetical. Bert found Tom's name and hit the send button. It rang and rang There's no answer. Got the number right? I think so. Let me try. Roy took the phone and he's not answering. Maybe his phone's not on him? Then he'd set it to vibrate to ring and still pick it up. Bert saw it when Roy did. The tow truck that had passed them moments earlier, it was in their lane, no headlights, coming right at them. Roy barely had a chance to hit the brakes before the collision. Bert didn't hear the crash. He felt it. Impact. Spinning. Darkness. When Bert opened his eyes, all he saw was white. He couldn't remember where he was. He could sense movement. A breeze. He looked to the right. A shattered window. Lights in the distance, moving by slowly. He looked left. More white. He lifted a hand. Pushed. Behind the airbag, Roy. Blood all over. A small stutter, then a stop. Someone opened his door. A dwarf. Only a foot tall? Bert stared at the top of his head. Still alive? Good. We can have some fun. The dwarf had a knife. He poked the airbag, deflating it, and reached over off Bert's seatbelt. Bert was yanked from his seat and he fell, and hit the street. His head was pounding. There was some kind of humming in his ears. He looked up. Not a dwarf at all. It was Jack. Up on the flatbed of the tow truck was a wrecked car. Roy slumped over behind the wheel. Bug yellow. Say goodbye to your friend. Jack pulled a lever on the side control panel. The bed began to lift. The car began to tilt. Those old Volkswagens, they used to be able to float. Let's see how the new models do. When the angle was steep enough, Jack pulled another lever. The Beetle rolled down the flatbed, over the railing, to the bridge. Bert tried to move his head to see. There was a splash. Need some help? Jack grabbed Bert's hair and dragged him over to the edge. Below, in the river, the bug, bobbing, and then it began to sink. Roy. Bert's throat was hoarse, painful. Roy! Well, now we know. The new bugs don't float at all. Bert watched as the car went down below the surface of the water, leaving only bubbles in its wake. Roy! Roy! Jack dropped Bert's head. Be happy for him. His pain is over. Yours is just beginning. In a few hours, you'll be begging to join your friend at the bottom of that river. Bert felt it around his collar, and then everything went black. Chapter 21. Back in Los Angeles. Still in Lincoln. I need to read a little bit slower, I guess. The cold shocked Roy awake. His feet moved like they were stuck in ice. It quickly moved up to his legs, and then to his waist. The reality of his predicament came to him in a rush. He was in the car. Roy could remember the truck coming right at them, trying to collide, hitting the brakes too late. He reached to his right, feeling in the dark for Bert. Not there. Roy pushed aside the airbag, hands groping for the dash. He found the switch for the interior dome light. Flipping it on revealed the situation was worse than he thought. The water was above the windshield, streaming in through 100 different cracks. It was now up to his chest and freezing. Roy attempted to open the door. Jammed. The button for the window didn't work. He tried to scoot over to the passenger side, but his seatbelt held him in place. Without warning, the car lurched forward like a first drop on a roller coaster. Tom's head fell into the airbag, and he was immediately surrounded by cold, rushing water. He tore at the bag, trying to get it out of his face. It pulled free, but the water was now over his head. Frantic, his hand sought the seatbelt button. The car jolted, hitting the bottom of the river nose first. For a moment, it stayed like that, as if unable to make its mind where it would fall. Then slowly, a low light coming to rest on its side. Roy released the seatbelt and strained his neck up to find oxygen. There was a small air pocket near the rear window. One of Bert's Samsonite suitcases floated by his head. He batted it away and managed to get one last breath before the water completely filled the interior. Then he turned towards the passenger door. But that's what the car was resting on. Don't panic, he thought, and then almost laughed. He was trapped in a flooded car at the bottom of the river. Why the hell shouldn't he panic? The doors were blocked, but he could still get out. Get out through a window. Roy pushed up at the front windshield with both hands, giving it all he had. He refused to budge. His gun. He could shoot through the glass. His hand went to his shoulder holster. Empty. The water that had filled the car was cloudy, dark. He tried to peer through the murk, searching for his revolver. The dome light chose that moment to go out, and everything went pitch black. Now it was panic time. Roy groped the floor blindly, lungs burning, becoming frantic. His hands touched something metal, not his gun. It was square. Bert's emergency camping pack. He unsnapped the case and felt around inside. Something long and round, a flashlight. He flicked it on. The beam was thin but powerful, cutting through the haze. Spots appeared in Roy's vision, and he wasn't sure if they were floating debris or if he was about to black out. His brain screamed for oxygen. The light played across the floor, the back seat. No gun. Roy aimed it up, looking for another air pocket. There was none, but floating over his head was the inflatable donut. He grabbed it, seeking the nozzle, pulling it out. Roy exhaled, clamped his mouth around the opening, and squeezed it while he took a deep breath. The air was stale, weak, not enough oxygen content. It was enough to keep him in the game a little longer. Giving up on the gun, Roy half crawled, half swam to the rear window. He gripped the handle of Bert's larger suitcase, hard plastic shell, the one that the gorilla used to jump on in the old TV commercials. He brought it back and shoved it with all of his might at the windshield. Once, twice, 3 times. His vision became fuzzy again. He took another hit off the donut. By the way, if you're ever in an emergency and you have to break out a car window, the back windshield is literally the easiest one to break out. Just FYI. 4, 5. At 6, the suitcase knocked the window out of its setting. Roy let go of the handle, watching it disappear through the new opening. He followed it out, straining and kicking, his wet clothes and shoes holding him back. No good. It was like trying to swim while tied up. Don't blow it this close to the finish line, Roy. He brought the donut to his face for the last time, lightheaded from all the carbon dioxide. He sucked out the remainder of the air and then struggled with his jacket, managing to free himself. Then he pulled off his shoes and kicked for what he hoped was the surface. His mind began to drift, almost as if he was on the edge of sleep. His lungs were 2 burning paper bags. Roy's thrashing became gentler, feeble, almost. He broke the surface, and that first breath of fresh air was like being born again. Roy flopped onto his back, trying to float, greedily feeling his lungs. Something nudged him in the head. A suitcase. He clung to it, dizzy, shaking, happy as hell to be alive. Roy! He looked to his right along the riverbank. It was Abe, waving at him. The tall man took off his shoes and his shirt. Then he waded into the water and swam up to Roy with even, powerful strokes. The 2 of them managed to beach the suitcase. Abe helped pull Roy onto the shore. I was just driving up. I dropped your car over the bridge. Was Bert with him? I think so. He put someone in his truck. What way did they go? West? Into town? Roy tried to stand up. His legs wouldn't support him. We have to go after him. Shouldn't we call the police? They won't help. You should probably see a doctor. You're bleeding. Abe pointed to his head. Roy touched his hand to a sore spot. Saw the blood glisten in the moonlight. Help me with this suitcase. Roy hefted it over to Abe. 20 yards downstream, Bert's other indestructible piece of luggage was snagged on some sticks along the shoreline. We have to get this one too. What's in them that's so important? $500,000? I'll get it. Abe jumped into the river with more enthusiasm than he had when going after Roy. The cop sat down on the riverbank and tried to gauge the extent of his injuries. His head was starting to pound, and his neck hurt like crazy. He felt his ass and wondered if he had ripped the stitches. Roy coughed and then spat. He was cold. He was in pain. But most of all, he was angry. The bad guys had left him for dead. Big mistake. He was going to make sure they found out just how big. Got it! Abe held the suitcase over his head like it was the Stanley Cup. Roy began to shiver. He took off his shirt and wrung it out, but it was still too cold to put back on. We'll go back to my place. Abe heaved the suitcase next to its matching partner. I have some clothes that'll fit you. Do you have a cell phone? Got one in the car. How are we supposed to find Bert? He's got a transmitter on him. If I can get in touch with Tom, I can track him. Abe bent over and began to put on his shoes. Then what do we do when we find him? Do you have a gun? No? We'll figure something out. Let's get to that phone. Where's your car? Abe grabbed both pieces of luggage and made his way up the sloping bank. It wasn't steep, but in his wet socks, Roy kept slipping. When he finally made it to the street level, he had half a dozen more cuts and bruises. Abe's Lincoln was still running. Roy got in and turned up the heat. Their cell phone was in the glove compartment. He dialed Tom's number. It rang and rang. Had they gotten to him too? Roy hit the disconnect and dialed the number again on the off chance he pressed the wrong digit. No answer. Roy punched the dashboard. Damn it, Tommy! Where the hell are you? Chapter 22. Los Angeles. That was a complete waste of time. Tom and Joan had managed to tear down most of the wine racks. Their efforts didn't yield any usable weapons or anything else that would help them get out of the cellar. Not a complete waste, Tom disagreed. At least we messed up his wine cellar. Good point. We sure showed him. Tom sat down again, racking his brain for an answer. How many ways was there to open a door? Breaking it down was futile. The door and the jamb were solid oak, and the lock was heavy. They couldn't take off the hinges because the hinges were on the other side. Picking the lock was out, even if they did have a wire or a pin. Tom didn't have the slightest idea of that. The final way, the one Tom saw a lot in his career as a cop, was called lloyding. That meant sticking a thin piece of celluloid, a shim or a credit card, in between the door and the bolt and then easing it back. Unfortunately, Tom's wallet had been taken with the rest of his things. You don't happen to have a credit card on you by chance? Why? You want to do shopping? I want to try to lloyd the door lock. Sorry, left my purse at Marty's. Any jewelry? Rings, necklace, bracelet, watch? No. Don't you have a watch? Tom did, but it was a leather band. Useless. Needed something long and stiff. Maybe one of the pieces of wood they broke off, or the nails in the board. See if you can find any. Tom searched along the floor, finding a corner section. He worked the pieces apart until he exposed a nail. It was thin, bent, about 2 inches long. Tom pounded it and the board against the concrete floor until it came out the other end. He found his way up the staircase and examined the doorknob with his fingers. There was a metal plate along the jamb which the bolt rested in. Tom stuck the nail in between them and tried to whip it back and forth. They were too close together, and the nail was too thick. Did it work? No, nail's too wide. Tom rubbed his eyes. I found a smaller one. Try this. Joan climbed the stairs and handed Tom another nail. It was shorter, thinner. He wedged it in between the door and the jamb. With the tip, he could feel the bolt, but the nail was too short, and he didn't have any leverage to try to push the bolt back. It's not long enough. Do all the girls tell you that? Tom laughed, despite himself. You're not helping the situation. Try to stay focused. We could try kicking it again. It's a heavy door with a heavy lock. Well, why don't you try kicking the other side by the hinges? Well, couldn't hurt. Tom aimed at the bottom of the door. He kicked hard. Again. And again. I think it gave a little. 2 more kicks, and Tom was positive the door was moving. Let me try. Tom let Joan have a go at it. After she put in 6 strong ones, Tom checked the integrity of the door. The lower portion was loose. He could push it forward almost an inch. 3 more kicks and there was a small clinking sound. Screws falling out, hitting tile. Halfway there. Tom couldn't kick as high as the top hinge, but now he could use the whole door for lift. He rammed it with his shoulder and pushed hard. Lean on it! Joan added her weight, both of them straining and groaning. Then suddenly the door was falling over and they tumbled out into the kitchen. The lights were off and the room was dark. There was a noise. A TV or a radio blaring from another room? Tom crawled over to the counter where his gun was still sitting. He grabbed it and held his breath, listening for movement in the house. Maybe he's gone. Joan was crouching next to him. Could be asleep. Well, let's not hang around to find out. Tom nodded in agreement. He reached for his wallet, keys, and phone. His phone was vibrating. Tom pressed the talk button, to his ear, silent. Tom? Jesus, where are you? Roy. Tom kept his voice low. We have a little situation here. They've got Bert. He's got the tracer. I need you to find him now. Shit. The laptop was back at the hotel. That may take some time. He doesn't have time. Call you right back. He disconnected and turned to Joan. We have to get on the internet. Can it wait? No. Tom held out his keys. Take the car. Get out of here. You want to use Shakespeare's computer? I don't have a choice. Go back to your place. You've got the gun in the car. I'll be by later. I can show up here any minute. Bill might even be in the house right now. I gotta risk it. You men and your macho bullshit. Joan grabbed the keys and hurried out of the kitchen. Tom felt a quick stab of sadness at seeing her go, then concentrated on what he needed to do. Okay, computer, where might you be? Tom didn't remember seeing it in the living room, and it wasn't in the kitchen. But Bill was a writer, which meant he had to have a computer somewhere. Tom walked into the hallway. The TV sound got louder. He moved slowly past a closed door, probably the bedroom. That's where the noise was coming from. The voice cranked up high enough for Tom to hear every line of dialogue. Probably what my kids feel like with my TV, let's be honest. I'm a little bit deaf. He paused by the door, considering his options. He needed to interrogate Bill, but he didn't even know if he was still around. But he didn't know if he was still armed. A shootout would be bad. Even if Tom did manage to capture him, how was he supposed to hold him while he was also messing around on the internet? And what if Attila and Vlad showed up all of a sudden? Bill could wait for 2 seconds. Tom made Bert the first. There were more rooms down the hall. The first was a bathroom, the second a home office, and on the desk was an IBM, complete with modem. Tom entered the dark room and switched the computer on. After it booted up, he adjusted the contrast so the screen was dim. The keyboard had one-touch internet access, and it took only a minute before he was at the Surveillance Technologies website. Yes, once upon a time, you had to actually click a button to connect to the internet. Tom fished the big track serial number out of his wallet. His phone buzzed. Damn it, Tommy, hurry up. Just a sec. Tom punched in the username and password, and a few keystrokes later, he was looking at a map of Lincoln, Nebraska. It looks like he's on Talon Street. It's off of North Park Road, near the airport. Exact address? Tom squinted at the screen. Doesn't say. But he's on the northwest corner of the intersection, Roy. Be careful with egg. Shakespeare was a real bad egg. Put down the weapon and hang up the phone. Speak of the devil. Something pressed into the back of Tom's head. He didn't have to see to know what it was. The phone and the gun. Now. Tom ended the call and placed the revolver on the desktop. Where's the girl? She left to get the police. They'll be here any minute. Bill gave him a hard tap on the head with the butt of the gun. Where is she? She left. Where'd she go? I don't know. The blow brought the stars out. Tom toppled off the chair and fell to his hands and knees. Let's get something straight, Jefferson. I'm the one with the gun. I ask the questions. You answer them. He He kicked Tom in the ribs. Tom groaned, a spike of agony running laps through his nervous system. What's the matter? Tender spot? Another kick, just as hard. Tom squinted up at him through the pain. There was something round and pink stuck to Bill's forehead. Do you have a roller in your hair plugs? Bill reflexively touched his head, then gave Tom the mother of all kicks. How does it feel to get your ass kicked by William Shakespeare? Tom groaned. It's better than reading your plays. Bill reared back for another kick, but something to his left caught his attention, and he stopped. Drop the gun. Tom looked in the doorway. Joan. She had the semi-automatic in her hand, aimed at Bill's chest. Hello, Joan. Welcome to the party. I was giving one of our founding fathers a little lesson in humility. The gun. Drop it. This gun? Bill smirked and pulled back the hammer. He pointed it at Tom's head. What if I said no? Then I'd shoot you. Playing hardball, I see. But do you know what the secret to playing hardball is? You have to know what you're capable of. How far will you go to win, Joe? Me? I'm willing to go all the way. Now, I'm going to count to 3. No, you're not. Joan shot him in the chest. Bill took a step back, slack-jawed in surprise. He looked at the blood soaking his shirt, and then fell to his knees, slumped to the floor. Tom pried the gun out of his hand. The bard's eyes were glassy, far off. A gasp escaped his mouth, and then he didn't move any more. Is he dead? Joan appeared dazed. Tom got up off the floor, one arm protecting his ribs. Yeah, he's dead. Should we call the police? If you want to. Joan walked over to Bill slowly. She seemed someplace else. Tom recognized it as the early stage of shock. He went to her, taking the gun from her hand. If you didn't shoot him, we both would have died. You made the right choice. Joan didn't answer. She just stared at the body. He stuck the gun in his waistband and gently touched her chin, turning her gaze away from Bill and onto him. Can you live with this? I think so. But what about the police? Tom thought it through. Even though it was a clear case of self-defense, he wasn't sure how far Sting's influence spread. I don't know if we can trust the police. So what do we do? Her voice sounded strained. Wiping down all of our fingerprints? We didn't commit any crime here, Joan. There's nothing to conceal. If we're ever questioned about this, we don't want to have to admit that we tried to cover it up. You saved my life. Both of our lives. Okay? She nodded. Okay. What do I need to do? We have to get ready for Attila and Vlad. They can show up at any moment. What about... Joan gave the body a sideways glance. Leave him. Go and wait in the living room. Keep an eye on the window. Tell me if a car pulls up. Can you do that? Joan turned and walked out, somewhat robotically. Tom picked up his cell phone and dialed Roy. There was a recorded message saying the customer had switched off his phone. Great. One more thing to worry about. He left the den, deep in thought. Defense first. Tom locked the front and back doors so the terrible two couldn't just waltz in. They'd probably call before they came. Tom didn't think he could convincingly speak like Bill, so he took the phone off the hook and put the hand in a drawer so he wouldn't have to hear the annoying buzz, 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 buzz. Joan was sitting in the Budweiser chair, facing a crack in the blinds. How are you doing? I think I'm okay. What's the plan? Well, we need to talk to one of them to find out what's going on. If only one shows up, it's easy. I go around behind him while he's at the front door. And if they both show up, same thing. But if it goes bad, you'll be in here aiming out this window. Vlad had the gun, so we go for him first. Can you do that? Yes. I'm going to look over Bill's computer files, see if I can turn something up. Do you want anything? Some water? A sandwich? I don't think I could eat. Right, sorry. I'll relieve you in about an hour, okay? Joan nodded. Tom turned to leave. Tom? He stopped. Yeah? Have you ever... Tom knew where this was headed. He took a breath and let it out slowly. Killed someone? Yeah. It was a 1016, domestic violence. We had calls about this address before. The husband drank, and he was a mean drunk. When my partner and I arrived, the guy took a swing at me. Big fellow. Strong. We jumped on top of him, trying to get the cuffs on. He fought pretty damn hard. Tom hadn't talked about this in years. Not since his mandatory visit to the police shrink. You shot him? No. We managed to get him subdued, but his wife, she came out of the bedroom with a gun. Shot my partner in the head. Defending her husband, I guess. Even though the bastard broke her nose. You killed her? I killed her. Self-defense. Yes. Just like me? Tom nodded slowly. Yes. Her shoulders shook, and then the tears. Tom went to her, arms open. She cried, and he patted her back and smoothed her hair, all while trying not to think about that October night, all those years ago, having to kill the woman he had just shown up to protect. You'll be fine, Joan. You're strong. I know. He was a bad man. I know. Joan broke the hug, taking a step back. Tom could tell she had found her strength again. Was that your friends on the phone earlier? Yeah. The bad guys grabbed Bert. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Roy's going after him, but his cell phone is off. All we can do is wait. I hope they're okay. Me too. What was it you wanted to check out on Bert's computer? I'm not sure. I'm searching for clues, I guess. Something to make this all make sense. Don't let me stop you. I'll be fine. You sure? I've got window duty. You go be a cop. I won't be long. Tom gave her a little pat on the shoulder and then went back to the den, a bounce in his step. He flipped on the light and tried not to look at the corpse. Sitting at the workstation, he logged off the internet and opened up Bill's word processing file. Tom found 15 documents. He clicked on the first one and began to read. I address you today as the newly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives. Aha. Bill was writing speeches for Phil, Jr., the third most powerful man in America. Tom decided to check the most recent speech to see if it yielded anything interesting. He clicked on the last document and saw it was dated 2 days from now. In it is, in the times of greatest tragedy, that we ourselves must also be great. So that means the speech is supposed to be given in 2 days. Tick-tock. As Tom read on, he was enveloped by a very real sense of dread. Halfway into the first paragraph, his fears were confirmed. Oh, no. He continued, and the speech got immeasurably worse. If this was true, if this were really going to happen in 2 days, we're in way over our heads. Tom shook his head, his heart aching, because he knew there was no chance in hell any of them would be alive by the end of the week. Chapter 23. Lincoln. The pain in his wrist woke him up. It didn't take long for Bert to figure out why he was hanging from them. Welcome back, Mr. Einstein. Jack's thick lips were curved in a smile. He perched like a cat on the top step of a folding ladder, staring into Bert's eyes. The expression on his face was pure glee. Bert took in the surroundings. It was an empty warehouse of some kind, dark, dusty, abandoned. Looking up, he saw the rope that bound his hands extended up the ceiling and looped over a rafter. He followed it down to the ground level, where it was tied to a massive shelving unit. Oh, God! Looking down also revealed what he was hanging over. Oh, God! Jack repeated. There are a few tricks to a proper impaling. The stick has to be sharp, but not so sharp that it kills right away. It should be greased, in this case with some petroleum jelly, help the body slide down. Too much, and the game is over too quickly. Too little, and it can take weeks. It's a little bit art and a little bit science. The stake was at least 8 feet long, the pointy tip only a few inches away from Bert's crotch. The pain in his wrist suddenly became trivial. I know what you're thinking. Yes, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. You scream for the first few hours, but no one will hear you. I had prepared this for Lincoln, but lucky you get a trial run. Why don't you just shoot me? Bert's voice was quivering badly. Why don't you just shoot me? What's the fun in that? Besides, I have some questions to ask about where the others are, and this makes you much more receptive. I'll tell you whatever you want. I swear. I swear. Jack patted Bert on the head. Of course you will. Now, perk up. We're going to spend some quality time here. There are few relationships more intimate than this one. You'll share everything with me, Albert. You'll open yourself up like you never have to anyone else. By the end, I hope we'll be good friends. Bert fought back the tears. You're insane. You're insane. Jack laughed. Of course I'm insane. I'm Jack the Ripper, the original serial killer, the most famous psychopath in history. But I'm not entirely bad. I'll prove it to you. I'll give you a phone call. You can call anyone you want. Why? Why? To say goodbye, of course. Jack unclipped the cell phone from his belt and held it out. Give me a number. I'll dial for you. Bert trembled with fear, anger, helplessness. He was going to die. The realization staggered him. It was too soon. There was so much he wanted to do. So much he hadn't done yet. This was supposed to happen when he was old. Not now. Not this way. At the hands of a monster who fed on pain. He wanted to spit in the man's face, but he held it back for the moment. There was a call he wanted to make. Bert told Jack a number. Jack repeated it back, naturally. It's ringing. He put it to Bert's ear. Hello? When Bert heard the voice, he wasn't sure he could keep it together. Mom? It's me. Albert, how are you? Where have you been hiding? I called the apartment 3 times. You haven't answered. Busy lately. Too busy to call your mother. Look, Mom, this is important. What is it, Albert? Bert's eyes teared up. I want to say thank you. Thank you for my life, for raising me. He swallowed, trying to keep his voice conversational. You've been the best mother anyone could ask for. I love you, Mom. I love you too, son. Is everything okay? It's fine. Is Dad there? Albert, I don't know if he wants to talk to you. Please, make him get on the phone. There's something I have to tell him. Jack took the phone away and put his hand over the mouthpiece. I just have to tell you, Albert, this is really touching. Really. Can you give me the phone back? Jack placed it next to Bert's ear. Yes. His father's voice, curt, impatient. Hi, Dad. Look, I know we haven't seen eye to eye lately, but I want to say something. I'm not sending you any more money. Damn it, Dad, just listen to me. This isn't about money. It isn't about graduate school or physics or the stock market. This is about you and me. A long time ago, there was a man who told me I could do anything in life. The sky was the limit. He taught me to believe in myself. Jack took the phone away again. This is great stuff, Albert. Should I get some tissue? Can I finish? Can I finish? Sure. He held the phone out again. Bert tried to gather his thoughts. You were there for me, Dad, all throughout my life. You helped make me a man. I know I never lived up to your expectations as a son, but you lived up to all of mine as a father, and then some. I just wanted to thank you for everything you've done. I love you. There was a long pause. Did he say it back? Jack asked. Bert averted his eyes. You know, son, you haven't been by the house in a while. Your mother would love it if you came over, stayed for a few days. I've got these Nets tickets. They're having a great season so far. They're heading for the playoffs for sure. You remember the first time I took you to see the Nets? Like it was yesterday. They played the Bulls. Jordan scored 43 points. So you'll out. They're playing on Thursday. I don't know what your schedule is like. Bert bit his lower lip. I don't think I can make the game, Dad, but thanks. Well, another time then. Bert? Dad? I know. He cleared his throat. I know I haven't been the most affectionate father. That's always been your mother's department. Hugs and kisses and birthday cards, but I'm glad you called. I'm glad too. I love you, son. Thanks, Dad. Love you too. Bye-bye. Jack took back the phone and pretended to wipe away tears. I'm all choked up here. Really, that was touching. The old man actually said he loved you? Bert refused to look at him. My dad loved me too. It was a different kind of love, though. He had some issues. Well, let's be honest. He got off on hurting me, but behind every attack there was love. I've missed him every day since I killed him. You sick bastard. You sick bastard? That's all you can say? Well, maybe the insults will get more creative as the night drags on. I'll warn you, though. Try to get them all in early. Because later, instead of calling me names, you'll be telling me you love me just to make the pain stop. Bert took a deep breath, searched deep within himself, and found a little reserve of courage. He met Jack's stare head on. I'm a big, stupid mama's boy. Jack didn't even pause. I'm a big, stupid mama's boy. And I play with dolls. And I play with dolls. Jack's eyes narrowed. I see what you're doing here. I have to repeat everything because I'm a moron. I have to repeat everything because I'm a moron. Stop it. Now. Bert racked his brain for more insults. He could remember a show he saw on cable about serial killers. Many of them killed animals, started fires, wet the bed. I wet the bed until I was 20. Jack's jaw clenched and his head began to shake. I wet the bed until I was 20. Bert raised his eyebrows. Hey, I think we hit a nerve. I'm a bedwetting little psycho and nobody loves me. Jack slapped Bert across the face. The blows sent him swinging. I'm a bedwetting little psycho and nobody loves me. Little psycho, nobody loves me. You're gonna wish you hadn't done this. Jack hurried down the ladder. Bert watched him scamper to the shelving unit where the rope was anchored. The thought of being dropped on that stake made Bert want to gag. His mind raced. Was there any possible way to get out of here alive? He didn't see me. Roy, oh, poor Roy, was dead. Bert had only known him a few days, but he considered him a friend. Tom was in L.A. and probably wouldn't find out about their death for at least a few days. No rescue, no escape. All the future held was a long, awful drop. Bert looked down between his legs. He was still reeling from Jack's slap, and the stake swayed back and forth beneath him. Maybe he couldn't stop death, but he could delay it for a little. Bert kicked his legs out and began to swing. Stop that! Bert stretched out his leg, trying to reach the ladder. Maybe, just maybe, he could get onto it. The rope went slack, and Bert fell. He stopped abruptly. At first he thought he had landed on the ladder and everything was okay. Then the pain hit. His left buttock, white hot, searing pain, right to the bone. No! Jack screamed, grabbed the rope and held it tight. Look what you did! It's supposed to go between your legs! Bert felt himself jerked upwards, being pulled off the stake. He looked down, saw the blood on the tip, and felt his left leg go numb. If it hit an artery, you'll bleed to death. Good, Bert thought. Jack tied the rope back to the shelves and climbed up the ladder. He spun Bert around and clucked to himself, inspecting the wound in a frantic, worried manner. I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Bert blinked back the pain. I wear diapers. I wear diapers. Jack grabbed Bert's shirt and pulled him close. Do you want to play? We'll do it this way then. Jack went to the top of the ladder and leaned on Bert's shoulder so he couldn't swing. Bert watched him take a long knife out of the sheath on his belt. This time, The stake won't miss. Jack reached up to saw away at the rope. Bert closed his eyes and tried to brace himself. He couldn't swing. He couldn't get away. The stake was going to find its mark, and his death would soon begin. Though not a practicing Jew, Bert's lips silently formed the only Hebrew words he knew. Baruch atah Adonai. Praise the Lord. Then suddenly Jack cried out, and there was no more pressure on his shoulder. Bert looked and saw the ladder tumbling over, Jack falling to the ground, and standing there, bare-chested. Roy! Damn straight! Jack hit the floor rolling. He came up in a crouch, still gripping the knife. His face registered surprise, and when he saw Roy, it turned red with rage. He pointed the knife at him, shaking. You! I killed you! Roy had something big in his hands. It was a black garbage bag, one of the bags from Abe's cars that had been filled with cans. Roy held it at his side. What's this I hear about diapers? What's this I hear about diapers? Jack lunged, thrusting at Roy's stomach with the knife. Roy danced away from the blade and swung the garbage bag like a baseball bat, smacking Jack in the face and chest with a hard, solid blow. It wasn't filled with cans. When the bag burst open on impact, it covered Jack with a tangled mass of fishing lures. Hundreds of them. Jack wailed and pitched to the floor. He rolled around, thrashing and kicking. Hooks were stuck in his clothes, his head, his neck. One hand was hooked to his chest, and the other was tugging at a bright orange object stuck in his eye. The smart thing would have been to just stop moving and wait for help. But Jack became more and more hysterical. He somehow got to his feet, screaming like a little girl, and sprinted away from Roy, tearing off in the opposite direction. Straight at Abe. Holy shit! Abe took 3 steps back and raised something in his right hand. Tire iron. Get the hell away from me! Jack continued to race forward, gaining speed, blood spraying off him as he ran. Abe was backed up against the shelves and had no place to go. Bert was transfixed, unable to look away. Jack had so many lures stuck on him he looked like a decorated Christmas tree. He was 4 steps away from Abe. 3, 2, Abe yelped and brought the weapon down, cracking it hard against the side of Jack's head. Jack flopped to the ground like a fish. Appropriate. He twitched twice and then was still. Abe grabbed the tire iron and staggered away. I think I'm having a heart attack. Lincoln took 3 more steps and then fell to his knees, his hands clutching his chest, and his face was scrunched up in pain. Abe! Roy hurried over to him and grabbed his arm. Chest pains. Bad. That guy. Jesus. Stay calm. I'll call an ambulance. Wait. Abe opened his mouth and let out an incredibly long belch. I'm okay. Cheesy. Roy left him to his heartburn. He went to the fallen ladder and set it up under Bert. I got you, buddy. Hi, Roy. I thought you were dead. Nah, just went for a brisk swim. Roy helped Bert onto his feet onto the rungs. Hey, Abe, cut that rope. Abe was smacking his lips. That sure didn't taste too good coming up the second time. Just a sec. My ass. It's killing me. Mine too. We'll buy a couple of donuts. Try to stand up. Bert stared into Roy's eyes. He saw deep concern. You saved me. You're welcome. You're welcome? You hit him with my entire life savings. You couldn't find a brick or a board or something? Maybe I should leave you hanging there. The rope was severed, and Bert's arms came down. His legs were shaking, and Roy assisted him to the ground. I think your arms would be pretty fucking numb at that stage. Abe came over with the knife and cut the rope, tying Bert's hands. They were bloody ligature marks around his wrist, but that paled next to the pain of his circulation returning. It was as if Bert had struck both hands in a barbecue grill. He moaned. Are you okay? $500,000! Bert looked around the warehouse, lures scattered all over. Abe held up the knife. We could, get them back if you want. Bert winced at the thought. His eyes fanned over to Jack's body. Moments ago, he didn't think there was any worse way to die than being impaled. Jack just proved him wrong. A horrible death for a horrible man. Leave that stomach for the lure business. Well, your ass don't look too bad. Thanks, Roy. You've got a cute ass yourself. Bert laughed. And just 2 minutes ago, I was hoping I'd bleed to death. Roy eyed the steak. I bet. Nasty. How'd you find me? Tom. The transmitter. Shit, I should call him back. He doesn't have our number. Abe, give me your phone. Abe was squatting on the ground, picking up lures. These things are really worth that much money? The phone, Abe. Abe pulled the cell out of his pocket and tossed it to Roy. You would think, Roy, being a cop, that he would have checked to make sure this asshole was dead. Why hasn't he? Roy pressed a few buttons. It doesn't work. Hit it! Roy smacked it a few times. Was that supposed to help? Nah, battery is dead, but don't you feel better? Bert made himself look at Jack again. He felt many things. Fear, revulsion, anger, even sympathy. He focused on his eyes, on the phone clipped to his belt. Jack's got a phone? No one made any move to retrieve it. We should search him anyways. Roy scratched his chest. Abe, you're closest. Grab his phone. No way. I saw this movie before. I go near him, he comes back to life, and grabs me. Bert made the decision. I'll do it. Roy shook his head. No need, Bert. I got this one. It's okay. I don't want to spend the next 30 years in therapy, whining about my fear. I'd rather face it now. Bert limped over to Jack, one hand pressed against the wound on his backside. With each step, he was less sure of himself. Deep in his psyche, Bert knew that confronting the horrific corpse of the man who almost killed him was somehow therapeutic. Shrinks talked a lot about closure. This was closure in spades, but it still scared the hell out of him. You can't hurt me anymore. Bert said it over and over in his head. Mantra. He stepped next to the corpse, leaning down, focused on the goal, reaching out a hand. Don't let him grab you, Abe yelled. Bert took the phone. Triumphant, he began to turn away, but something caught his eye. A piece of paper sticking out of Jack's back pocket. Abe tugged it out. A plane ticket. While you're over there being brave, check his wallet, Roy said. No fair, Abe said. I killed him. I get his wallet. We're looking for evidence, Abe, but not robbing him. Bert patted down Jack's pockets, careful to avoid getting hooked. He dug out a billfold, some keys, and a small plastic tube. You doing okay? Roy had come up to him, a hand on his shoulder. I'm fine. The case was black, about half the size of a pencil. It had a screw top. Bert shook the contents into his drugs. What is that? Drugs? I don't think so. The object was small, about 2 centimeters long. It looked like a miniature missile. Pointy at one end, tiny wings at the other. It's a dart of some kind. Roy carefully picked it up between his thumb and index finger and held it close. Has some kind of mark. Squiggles, like Chinese writing. You! The three of them whirled to see Jack. Somehow, impossibly, he had gotten to his feet and launched himself at the trio, one arm stretched out for a pointy and lethal embrace. Roy shoved Bert to the side and put out his hand to hold Jack back. As soon as Roy touched him, Jack's eyes rolled up in their sockets, and he gasped, falling to the ground. His body jerked twice, and then he was still. Abe nodded smartly. Told you that was going to happen. Is he dead? Bert asked. What the hell did you hit him with? Roy shrugged. I just poked him with a little dart thingy. Bloody froth foamed out of Jack's mouth. It killed him that fast? Apparently so. Let's try to avoid these things in the future. Give me the phone. Roy took the cell from Bert and pressed some buttons. Tom? Yeah, he's safe. Jack's dead. Okay. Tell me. Bert watched Roy's face. As Tom talked, it became grimmer and grimmer. Great. I was hoping this situation would become a lot more desperate. Jack had a ticket on him. Let me see. Bert handed it over. Tomorrow night to D.C.? Yeah, It makes sense. I'll break it to the guys. Call you right back. What is it? Bert braced himself for bad news. Roy pocketed the phone. Well, Shakespeare was a bad guy. He's dead. Looks like Stang's plot goes way beyond killing all the clones. Way beyond. The stakes have gone up. What do you mean? Apparently, the day after tomorrow, Stang is planning on assassinating both the president and the vice president at the same time. Roy let the words sink in. And we all know who's next up in line for president. The Secretary of State? Abe looked up from the pile of lures he was gathering. The Attorney General? The Prime Minister? Don't tell me I know this. Oprah. The Speaker of the House. Phil Jr. Bert's stomach dropped. If he becomes president, we're all dead. It's a lot worse than that. He's planning on blaming China for the assassinations. Bert followed his line of thought. Oh, no. That's right. Roy's face creased with worry. Get ready for World War III. It's always been Chinese people. Always gonna be Chinese. Even now. Chapter 24. Los Angeles. Tom clicked on the news icon at www.whitehouse.gov, which is still the right address, to check on the upcoming events for the president. He's in Canada for the next 2 days. Joan asked. Where? Tom checked where the prez was supposed to be tomorrow at 4:15. That was the time mentioned in Phil's speech. That was the time at precisely 4:15 Eastern Time. Our nation lost two of its finest leaders. He'll be in Montreal. He's addressing the North American Energy Commission, whatever that is. How about the vice president? Tom couldn't find any mention of him. I guess he'll be presiding over the Senate? Roy mentioned that Jack had a plane ticket to D.C. They must be planning on murdering him while Congress is in session. So we've got, what, 20 hours to try and try to stop a double assassination? We can place an anonymous call to the Secret Service, tell them the plot, and they'll take care of it. They'll want proof, which we don't have. We'll be real convincing. You're kidding, right? Tom turned and looked at her. What do you mean? Do you honestly think that the president is going to cancel his speech because of an anonymous phone call? He probably gets threatened every day by nuts from all over the world. Suppose you got a call saying the mayor of Chicago was going to be killed at a speech. What would you do? Tom saw her point. Would beef up security. But we have to assume Stang can already beat security. Hell, the Secret Service may actually be in on it with all of Stang's connections. Would the mayor cancel his speech? Tom shook his head slowly. Probably not. He'd have faith in his security staff. Plus, he'd want to prove that he's not easily scared. Terrorists can't push this administration around, that kind of thing. So an anonymous call is out. If we tried talking to the Secret Service in person and told them the truth about everything that happened, how far would we get? Tom knew where that would go. We'd get detained and probably arrested. We might be questioned for days, even weeks, without due process if Homeland Security got involved, and Stang would deny all of it, of course. Joan's face scrunched up in thought. What if we went to the speech and tried to warn him in person? We want to get within 100 yards of him before the Secret Service swarmed all over us. Their options were dwindling. How about the media? Could we tell them? Same problem. Would have to convince someone really high up before the president would listen, and we don't have any proof. You think Dan Rather is any easier to get a hold of than the president? We have some proof. The speech. Shakespeare is dead. How do we prove he wrote it? Tom tapped his fingers on the desk, thinking. What's left? Dr. Stang? Which one? Senior or junior? Well, we probably couldn't get to Phil Jr. He's protected by the Secret Service, same as the president. But Maybe we can pay Phil Sr. another visit. Try to force him to call off his dogs. And then do what? Say he calls it off. Say we even take the next step and murder him. Within a week, his son would have us hunted down and killed. Then he'd go ahead with the assassinations anyways. This was ridiculous. The two most important people in America were going to die tomorrow. There didn't seem to be any way to stop it. The same system that protected the president prevented Tom from helping him. So what can we do? Warning the president won't work. Showing up at the speech, even if we can get in it, will just get us arrested. Jack had a ticket to Washington, so he was part of this. Attila and Vlad are probably part of it as well. Joan let the implication of her sentence weigh on Tom. So we wait for them to show up and kill them? Joan folded her arms. They're coming here to kill us. And you can handle this? Yes. Maybe. I don't know. It's more than just the president. To be honest, I don't even like the guy, but if Stang becomes the leader of our country, he's going to start a war with China. You read the speech? Tom nodded. To say the speech was inflammatory was putting it lightly. It blamed China for the deaths, and then made demands for the Chinese that the Chinese would never meet. The communist government stepping down, a formal apology, restitution, the disbanding of the Chinese army. This was more than just their lives and the lives of some politicians. There were millions, possibly billions of lives at stake. Because if you think about it, if China is completely innocent, you blame them. I mean, America blames them. They're going to respond in force. It probably means nukes pretty fucking quick. What if this goes deeper than Attila and Vlad? We don't know how Stang plans to do it. He could fire a missile from miles away for all we know. Besides, if they are the trigger men, they are already on their way to their destinations. A plane ride to Montreal is at least 8 hours long. Well, then we somehow have to get the president and the vice president away from those areas by 4:15. They brainstormed for a few minutes, batting ideas back and forth. Some were bad, some were impossible, and a few were ridiculous. Joan chewed on her lower lip. How about we fake an attempt, like fire a few bullets into the air? Then that'd get the president out of there. We'd probably be killed before we could even fire the first shot. Scratch that. We wouldn't be able to get a gun anywhere near him. Where is this thing happening anyways? Tom did a search for North American Energy Commission and found their website. He clicked on upcoming events. It's indoors, invitation only, some kind of formal dinner. We couldn't get in if we wanted to. Tom took out his cell and dialed Roy's new number. Maybe they had some ideas. How about we get one of those planes that do skywriting? Roy suggested. The speech is inside. Last I checked, the Senate holds session inside as well. Well, maybe it'll be a nice day and they'll hold it on the White House lawn. Hold on. Abe has an idea. Tom listened to some grumbling in the background. When Roy came back on, he laid it out. Tom was impressed. That's so simple, it just might work, Tom said. Do they have tours? Bert says yes. He's been to Washington before. Will you go get what you need? It's a long time until the 4th of July. Abe's got that covered. Think that this can work for you too? I doubt it. We probably won't even be able to get in the building. Plus, we don't have Abe. I'm not as recognizable in the public eye. Good luck. Call when you figured it out. We're going to stop by Abe's, then go to the airport. Good thing I took out the extra insurance on that rental car. Roy hung up. Tom related their plan to Joan. Abe will probably get arrested. They'll put 2 and 2 together. He knows, but they won't be able to hold him for long. It wouldn't work for us. I know, but maybe we can use the same principle? Tom sketched out an idea. Joan listened and added to it. After bantering back and forth a couple times, they had something that actually might fly. We'll need a sensor or something that can pass for one, and uniforms. No problem, I'll call Stevie. He's been the prop master of my last 2 movies. He can get anything. Just find a logo. Tom searched the internet for Canadian companies. When he found a suitable picture, he saved it to the hard drive. Then he enlarged it in Photoshop and printed out a high-resolution copy. Perfect. Let me use your phone. Joan took it and left the room. Tom searched through Bill's programs and found a business card creator. With it, he made some cards using the Canadian logo. He left the phone number blank, then printed up 6 on some cardstock, 3 with the name Tom Johnson, and 3 with the name Joan Smith. They came out looking professional, though it bothered him the printing wasn't embossed. Hopefully no one would notice. When he was finished, Joan approached the desk with a phone book. There's one magic shop nearby, but they close in 20 minutes. Are we convinced Attila and Vlad are a no-show? We don't have a choice. I don't know if we can get what we need in Canada. What about the other stuff? Joan handed him a piece of paper. This is Stevie's email address. He wants you to send him a JPEG of the logo. If he gets it now, he can have it ready in 2 hours. Tom looked at his watch. Still had to stop back at the hotel for his laptop and luggage, and then go to Joan's place. If they caught a late flight, they would get there late tomorrow morning, just enough time to get set up and work the kinks out of the plan. Tom emailed Stevie the logo. Do you have any other business you need to take care of before you go? Joan's eyes clouded. I called Marcia after I talked to Stevie. She's going to close the business for a few days, make arrangements for Marty. The police found my purse and they're looking for me. They want to question you, that's all. Joan's eyes drifted to Bill's body for the umpteenth time. Tom sensed her indecision. You don't have to go. Yes, I do. You can stay here, talk to the police, explain everything. I can manage in Canada without you. You couldn't. Not by a long shot, but she was just a movie producer. She'd been through half a dozen traumas in just a few days. He had to give her an out. I've never run from anything. I wouldn't call this a typical situation. Jones met his eyes. We have to hurry. The store's only a few blocks away. Tom nodded, relieved. He gathered up what he needed, and they headed for the car. If they lived through this, he wanted to ask Joan if bravery came easily to her, or if she had to force it, like everyone else. Tom had been forcing his since he arrived in L.A. He wasn't sure how much he had left.